Tomorrow, what's a parent to do when the children start putting on too much weight?
Also, women who are getting away from it all by riding herd on a cattle drive.
Plus, actress Julianne Moore and singer Mariah Carey on Good Morning America.
Tomorrow, here on ABC.
Officials clamp down on security at airports around the country, including DFW. A live report is next.
Police use bulldozers in the fight against illegal drugs in Fort Worth.
And residents get set to take cover as Hurricane Opal comes barreling toward the United States and Mexico.
But North Texas has some more immediate weather concerns with storms headed our way. Stay with us. News 8 Midday is next.
Hush up. The Church's commercial is coming on.
Now at Church's, get 10 big pieces of juicy marinated chicken for just $4.99.
Gotta love it.
Last Thursday night, News 8 helped bring a neighborhood a little closer together.
The best involvement you can make on your kids is to keep up with them.
To discuss solutions, to talk about problems, to help each other find some answers.
We told them what our needs were, and they met our needs, and thank you very much.
That's what Channel 8's Project 8 Family First is all about. Reaching out and connecting. Just like last Thursday night. At Channel 8, we're putting family first in the spirit of Texas.
Working in the spirit of Texas. From WFAA TV, this is News 8 Midday.
A line of potentially severe thunderstorms is heading our way from the northwest.
The ever-changing North Texas weather tops our news at midday. Thank you for joining us. Well, with rain heading our way and Hurricane Opal meandering through the Gulf of Mexico, we want to check in now with Pablo Pereira for what we can expect.
We also want to take this opportunity to welcome Pablo to Midday.
No doubt.
Well, you've welcomed us with quite a bit of weather from all directions.
True.
We've been quite busy this morning already. And in fact, a severe thunderstorm watch is in effect for most of north central Texas this afternoon, as well as southern Oklahoma. Let's take a look at the current radar picture, show you exactly where that watch is headed. Right now, you can see the watch area here, as we mentioned, through central Texas, working into parts of Oklahoma and eastern Arkansas as well. As you take a look, you can see this very strong line of thunderstorms pushing to the east at about 20 to 25 miles an hour. With it, it's bringing some pretty strong thunderstorms, hail, and some pretty severe lightning at this hour. And as it pushes this way, it's expected to pick up some intensity as this line of showers continues to push eastward, something we'll be watching over the next several hours. We're also watching down to the south of us in the Gulf, and as you're looking now at tropical, or what is now Hurricane Opal, with maximum sustained winds up to 80 miles an hour right now, moving to the west at just about 4 miles an hour. Tropical storm warnings have been posted much along the Yucatan Peninsula, and flash flood watches also in effect for the Texas Gulf Coast as well. In fact, in Galveston, we've got some video to show you, and they've already opened up an emergency management shelter in anticipation of where Opal just may go next. So they're taking no chances there. And yesterday on the barrier island of Grand Isle, Louisiana, nearly 400 residents have been evacuated. No evacuation orders just yet, but nobody along the Gulf Coast this morning taking any chances with the latest number 9 hurricane to move through the Atlantic.
And they've seen what other hurricanes have done along the coast, so you're right, they're not taking any chances.
Not this time.
Okay.
Thanks, Pablo.
Thanks, Pablo.
In other news, the FBI is fearing the worst today regarding terrorism. The concern comes after Muslim Sheikh Omar Abdel Rahman and 9 of his followers were convicted yesterday of planning terrorist attacks in New York. The government's case rested on conversations taped by an FBI informant who hooked up with the sheikh. Now the FBI says it's planning for the worst. Security at airports nationwide is being stepped up to the highest level since the Persian Gulf War. Transportation Secretary Federico Pena issued the order yesterday, the same day the Muslims' verdict was handed down. The stricter measures are in effect all over the country, including Newark International Airport in New Jersey. And at Washington's National Airport, police are standing guard at all entrances. They're also directing traffic, which appears to be piling up because of delays caused by the increased security.
Airports have until Wednesday to implement the highest level 3 security measures. And that means longer waits for both passengers and the people trying to pick them up. Channel 8's Anita Vanetti is at DFW International Airport's administration building, where a meeting has just ended on the heightened alert. Anita, what's happening there?
Well, they're trying to decide just what their options are here and just what they have to do to meet the FAA regulations. As you know, the conviction of these 10 Muslim fundamentalists has the nation on alert, primarily because they have been very much against what's been going on in the peace process in the Middle East. And of course, you know, we had the Middle East Pact signed in Washington just last week. Also, we have more than 300 dignitaries coming into New York this week to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the United Nations. And of course, Pope John Paul II is coming to America. All of these things are happening at once, and it's heightening our level of alert at all airports, including DFW International Airport. Here, the airport officials, as we said, are reviewing their options. They're also checking on permanent solutions, permanent changes to how they handle the flow of traffic and passengers. Airport administration and security personnel met this morning to review their options. They have until Wednesday evening to have all level 3 security measures in place. Already, passengers are being asked more questions about their luggage, such as, did you pack it yourself? Unattended vehicles are usually towed after several minutes. For now, things are moving smoothly here at DFW International, but are expected to slow down considerably Wednesday when all level 3 security measures are in place. Then, all 1-hour parking spaces located near terminal gates will be closed. Passengers above 18 years of age will be asked to show a photo ID, such as a driver's license or passport. Airport officials are working on a contract now for around-the-clock towing service so that any unattended vehicle left by the terminal gates will be immediately towed. Passengers are weary of the changes, but most understand the need for them.
I think it's something that should be done a long time ago. Now it's more strict, but you feel safe as a passenger getting in the plane.
Do you think they should do this all the time?
They should do it in every airport in the United States and away from the United States.
They just asked us if anyone had been around our bags, and that was it.
What do you think about all this?
I think it's a good idea to take precautions when there's something that comes. It doesn't bother me, but there was no real problem anyway, so it was fine.
I think they've got to do what they got to do, and if there's trouble, I'd rather have them take the initiative and make sure they just do it the right way.
Joining us now is the Director of Public Affairs for the DFW Airport Administration. You have a sign in your hand, I see. Is this something that we're going to be seeing?
These signs began to appear at the entrances to Dallas-Fort Worth Airport late last evening, and by the close of business today will be obviously visible to every motorist entering DFW from either the north or south toll plaza entrance.
Now, we talked about some permanent changes likely. What about that 1-hour parking? Are we ever going to see that close again, that close parking again?
I don't think we're going to see it for a while. We have lost approximately 1,600 1-hour parking spaces, and even as we speak, those lots are being barricaded, and assuming that everyone that's parked there is parked there for only an hour, hopefully by the close of business today, all but illegally parked vehicles will be out of those lots.
The FAA gave you 72 hours to get all the security measures in place. What time Wednesday are we talking about?
We have until 5 o'clock p.m. local time to come into full compliance with level 3 security. However, because one of the responsibilities we as airport operators have, and 8 weeks ago we were directed to move to a higher level,
yes,
we have to be prepared to move quickly. So we're hoping that within the next 12 to 24 hours that we can be where we need to be and not wait until 5 o'clock Wednesday to do so.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Dealey. I appreciate it. One big warning to passengers and to people coming to pick up those passengers at DFW International Airport and at airports anywhere. Give yourself lots of time. For now, I'm Anita Vanetti reporting live. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Anita.
Dallas fire investigators are looking for the cause of a fatal fire at a West Dallas boarding house. It started just after 10:30 last night in the 100 block of East Brooklyn Avenue. One person was killed, 4 others injured in the fire at Familiar Footsteps. 14 residents were housed in the building. Firefighters rescued 4 of them. They were taken to local hospitals with burns and smoke inhalation. One man was found dead at the scene.
He was found at the top of the stairs. Looked like he may have been trying to come out of one of the rooms. May have been the room that the fire started in. We don't know. He did sustain quite extensive burns on his body. We definitely don't know what caused his death at this time.
One firefighter also was injured. He was treated for heat exhaustion at a local hospital and then later released.
In Fort Worth this morning, a crackdown on crack houses. Police say city crews demolished 3 such houses. And Channel 8's Dana Baird joins us from the site of one of those demolitions in the 3600 block of Avenue I with more on this story. Dana?
Renee, some Fort Worth residents say this demolition project is long overdue. Eventually, city officials plan to demolish 54 vacant, run-down, and dilapidated houses. The first of those, the first 3 were demolished this morning. These houses were targeted because police say they are frequented by drug dealers, transients, and vandals. City code enforcement officials say the property owners have ignored repeated orders to repair and clean up the property. So this is the result. Demolition crews are tearing down the house and sending the property owners the bill for the demolition. Yolanda Sanders says she and her family have been complaining about property next door for years, and she's glad to see it go.
It really needs to go down because I've been living over here ever since I was a little girl. So I really do think it's time for them to knock it on down because it don't look like it was ever going to get fixed.
Now, this first phase of the demolition is being paid for the Crime Control District. It's just one of several programs that are being paid for using that new half-cent sales tax. Now, code enforcement welcomes the help, saying their list of homes for demolition is always much bigger than its bank account. Reporting live from Fort Worth, I'm Dana Baird. Back to you, Renee.
Okay, thank you very much, Dana.
DISD trustee Dan Peavy holds his first meeting with school district officials since the release of a tape in which Peavy allegedly makes repeated racist remarks. Peavy's lawyer says his client is considering resigning and may make a decision in the next few days. Yesterday, meanwhile, Pastor Zan Holmes criticized Peavy during services at St. Luke Community United Methodist Church.
If you got somebody like that, thinking like that, if you got that kind of stinking thinking, and a person who has been elected to public office and has trusteeship, guardianship over the education of all of our children, black, white, red, brown, and yellow. If you got somebody thinking that way, how can you trust the policies that are being executed?
Peavy calls the voices on the tape unrecognizable, but has apologized for using what he calls colorful language in the past.
It is the first Monday in October, and that means the Supreme Court is back in session. Chief Justice William Rehnquist, who's recovering from back surgery, was absent. There have been several rulings already today. Among them, the court rejected a challenge by an anti-abortion group to a law that bars protesters from blocking access to abortion clinics. And as Tim O'Brien reports, the court has other high-profile cases before it, some affecting North Texans.
Voters in Colorado amended the state's constitution to nullify gay rights laws in Aspen, Boulder, Denver, and touching off a boycott of the state by some of its most famous visitors.
We must now say clearly that the moral climate there is no longer acceptable.
But the amendment itself was unacceptable to the state Supreme Court, which found the measure denied gays the right to participate fully in the political process. Now the U.S. Supreme Court will decide in what is shaping up to be the most important gay rights case to reach the High Court in years. Voting rights is before the court again this term in cases from North Carolina and Texas, where political districts were specifically designed to help minorities get elected. Under what circumstances is that permissible? And the justices will also try to decide whether punitive damages in civil cases can be so excessive as to be unconstitutional. The case involves BMW, ordered to pay $2 million for failing to disclose that some of its cars had been refinished prior to delivery.
I think we do have jackpot justice. If it punishes people, I assure you it's not punishing anybody who doesn't deserve it.
And the court is also likely to announce today whether it will consider the government's appeal urging that all-male Virginia Military Institute be required to admit women. The VMI case is among more than 1,600 cases submitted for review. The court this morning will reject most, if not all of them. It is one of the more important decisions the court makes, deciding what to decide. Tim O'Brien, ABC News at the Supreme Court.
On Capitol Hill today, debate over Medicare reform quickly escalated into a shouting match. At the start of a House Commerce Committee meeting, dozens of U.S. mailbags were dumped on the floor in front of panel members. Republicans say all contain letters from senior citizens in support of GOP proposals.
And they recognize that this Medicare program is going bankrupt. There are over 100,000 letters here of support for change, meaningful change in Medicare.
What we're seeing now are stunts unworthy of a deliberative committee of the Congress. We've seen no subcommittee hearings. We've seen no subcommittee markup. We've seen no deliberation. Instead of thoughtful deliberation, what we see are posters, propaganda.
Democrats plan to formally release their prescription for Medicare reform later today. They say their plan does not raise premiums seniors pay for doctor care.
About an hour ago, jurors in the O.J. Simpson murder trial began the task of deciding the former football star's fate. Before there's a verdict, though, jurors must sift through nearly 9 months of evidence and testimony. ABC's Janet Tamaro reports on what the jurors are facing.
As the jury begins its deliberations today, they must ponder vastly different interpretations of the evidence and conflicting instructions on how to fulfill their civic duty. In their last appeal to jurors, prosecutors played to their emotions. Christopher Darden displaying attractive photos of the victims.
Ron, he was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. Nicole, she was in the wrong place for a long time.
While Marcia Clark replayed 911 tapes, hoping that Nicole Brown Simpson's voice would speak volumes about her ex-husband's guilt.
911 emergency. Can you get someone over here now to 325 Gretna Green? He's back. Please. Okay, what does he look like? He's O.J. Simpson. I think you know his record.
Who then polices the police? You police the police. You police them by your verdict.
Defense attorney Johnny Cochran also made an emotional appeal, an appeal based in part on racial solidarity, telling the largely black jury that it is their responsibility to send a strong message about racism and police misconduct.
You and I, fighting for freedom and ideals, and for justice for all, must continue to fight to expose hate and genocidal racism and these tendencies.
Today, the jurors retreat to the deliberations room to review those arguments and the evidence in the case as the 12 men and women who've been sequestered since January 11th now take control. Deliberations are scheduled to run from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday. And during deliberations, jurors will be further cut off from the outside world. Conjugal visits have been suspended and phone calls will be monitored. Reporting from Los Angeles, I'm Janet Tamaro for ABC News.
The trial of the woman accused of killing Tejano singer Selena begins a week from today in Houston. Another attorney has joined the team defending Yolanda Saldivar. Fred Haggins volunteered his office and his services to Doug Tinker, Saldivar's court-appointed attorney. Haggins said much of his advice to Tinker will come during jury selection.
The demographics in Harris County are somewhat different than those in Corpus Christi. The pool of potential jurors is somewhat larger. Attitudes may be a little bit different here, although probably not a great deal.
The first pool of prospective jurors will number about 120. Haggins said it should probably take about 2 days to seat the panel. Well, how do American children size up? A new survey says too big. The story next on Midday.
Plus, a little later on, we'll go live to the State Fair of Texas, where the subject is food.
But first, Pablo Pereira continues to track Hurricane Opal as the storm heads toward the Texas Gulf Coast.
Stay with us. We will be right back.
Only the best USDA freshly cut meat and poultry make the grade at your neighborhood Minyard food store. And our produce is always the pick of the crop, just like these great weekly specials.
Wolf Brand chili, 98 cents. Minyard milk, $1.98 a gallon. High top cut green beans, 25 cents. Thompson or Red Flame seedless grapes, 88 cents a pound. Kraft macaroni and cheese dinner, 2 for $1. And Northern bathroom tissue, 88 cents.
I'm Bob Minyard at Minyard Food Stores. Quality, value, and customer satisfaction are a family tradition.
Hey, man.
Hey. I'm making some grilled cheese sandwiches. You want one?
Sure. Dear Alfred.
Alfred?
Here are a couple things to make living on your own a little easier. Love, Mom.
cool. Yikes.
Hey, check this out.
Nothing turns a sandwich into a satisfying meal like rich, wholesome Campbell's tomato soup. So you know your family's eating right, even when you can't be there to cook for them.
There's nothing like a home-cooked meal.
You said it, Alfred.
After a whole summer of kids and company, Dalworth has some great news for your carpet. It's our fall kickoff special. Call 267-8433. Have 5 rooms cleaned, book the cleaning 5 days in advance, and save 50% off the full service price. With our fall kickoff special, you'll score 50% savings on the best carpet cleaning in the business. Hurry, this is a limited time offer.
Call 267-8433 because the next best thing to do is Dalworth Clean.
Weather is sponsored by Dalworth Carpet Cleaning.
A state of emergency has been declared in the Philippines in the wake of Tropical Storm Sybil. More than 100 people were killed after Sybil slammed into the Philippines over the weekend with gusts up to 95 miles per hour. Heavy rains triggered mudslides there. The storm uprooted trees, knocked out electricity, destroyed bridges, and left thousands of residents homeless. Officials estimate damage at $1.3 million.
Now, Pablo again is keeping an eye on the tropics, and here we have another storm, a hurricane now, Opal.
Another hurricane, not nearly as severe as the one you just mentioned there. This one, Opal, just was declared a hurricane just a couple of hours ago. Something we'll be watching and talk more about in just a moment. But first, here locally, a severe thunderstorm watch has been issued until 6 p.m. this evening for most of north central Dallas tonight, or this afternoon. As you can see, a very strong line of thunderstorm activities that worked through Amarillo and Lubbock early this morning and now approaching the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Some of the thunderstorms now approaching parts of Young County, as you can see right here, into portions of Jack and Clay County as well, moving to the south-southeast at about 20 to 25 miles an hour. And the strongest thunderstorms, as you can see here in red, on the leading edge of this system here, associated with an upper-level low pressure system. Again, this severe thunderstorm watch will be in effect through portions of north-central Texas and southern Oklahoma and parts of eastern Arkansas until about 6 o'clock this evening. All right, down to the south of us, more weather to talk about. This one in the form of now what is Hurricane Opal, sitting about 185 miles to the west of Merida, Mexico right now, and it's moving very slowly to the west at about 4 to 5 miles an hour, maximum sustained winds up to about 80 miles an hour. Tropical storm warnings have been posted along much of the inner Yucatan Peninsula and the southern Gulf, and flash flood watches in effect for the Texas coast and Louisiana coast as well. Where this system might go is kind of hard to figure out right now, but what we do know is a frontal system is moving through the northern panhandle, and as it works its way south to the Gulf, it may help lift this hurricane and actually pull the direction back to the north-northeast. That's what we're watching for, but nothing in the immediate 24-hour future as far as exactly where Opal wants to go. As you can see, that very strong line of thunderstorms, winds, surface winds coming out of the southeast. In behind this cold front, though, the winds will be out of the northwest, and that'll happen later on this afternoon. Looks like a couple of hours before we see any of the real strong thunderstorm activity here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But in behind it, the very strong line of thunderstorms, some weaker systems, and a lot of rain, so it looks like we're going to see some precipitation for quite a while this afternoon. Clearing, though, later on. Let's check the temperatures outside at noon. 84 degrees in Dallas-Fort Worth, 85 degrees in Brownsville, where there was a sighting of a funnel cloud earlier this morning. And in behind the front, as we mentioned, much cooler temperatures, readings about 15 to 20 degrees cooler, just 64 in Albuquerque right now. All right, let's check our current conditions outside at 12 o'clock this afternoon. Our temperature is 84, humidity is 63%, barometer currently falling. Winds are kind of gusty under cloudy skies out of the southwest at 15 miles an hour, and no rain at the DFW airport yet. All right, our 5-day outlook. Showers this afternoon, thunderstorms, 81 the high temperature, low tonight, 58 with cloudy conditions. As we look on to the rest of the week, though, some variable cloudiness will replace that rain showers we see this afternoon. Much cooler temperatures down into the mid-70s, overnight lows in the upper 50s. A chance of sunshine by Friday with a high temperature of 80 degrees, but we'll say a chance because at this point we really don't know what Opal wants to do yet, and if she heads north, we're going to see some clouds and possible rain later in the week from that as well.
We'll find out.
Okay. Thanks.
Well, children and their weight top today's life guides. According to a new survey, American kids are getting heavier, and that has health professionals concerned. CNN's Eugenia Halsey reports.
The survey shows the number of overweight children ages 6 to 17 has more than doubled, primarily in the last decade, rising from 5% in the 1960s to 11% in the 1990s. Researchers at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention measured children's height and weight and determined that almost 5 million are too heavy. For example, a 14-year-old girl was considered overweight if she was 5 feet 3 inches and weighed at least 151 pounds. Researchers say the rise in overweight children mirrors the trend among adults.
Children and adolescents who are overweight are likely, at least some of them, are likely to remain overweight as adults. And we know that overweight adults have increased risk of cardiovascular disease and other chronic diseases.
When a more liberal definition of overweight was used, the number of heavy children rose from 15% to 23%, meaning almost 1/4 of American children are too heavy versus 1/3 of American adults. The survey showed the biggest jump in weight was among African American girls. The CDC believes the best way to reverse this trend, particularly for children, is to get them to be more physically active.
Dieting doesn't work in general for adults, and it's not a good idea, even more so for children, because you might interfere with growth. It's perfectly safe to recommend that people increase their physical activity, however.
Health experts say the children's survey adds even more weight to the notion the United States is in the midst of an epidemic of obesity. Eugenia Halsey, CNN, Washington.
There's some disappointing news today about a promising cystic fibrosis study. Scientists say an experiment in which normal genes were transferred into people with CF failed to correct genetic defects that caused it. Earlier trials raised hopes for gene therapy as a potential cure for the nation's most common inherited disorder.
One minor injury strikes nearly all active people sometime during their lives. We're talking blisters.
But as Dr. David Winter explains in today's Health Source Report, a little blister prevention can make a big difference.
Debbie Gonzalez runs 35 miles a week. She has run 2 marathons and suffers from the common problem of friction blisters.
It was bad. The whole end of the toe was a blister, all filled, very full, very painful.
The pain of a blister can literally rub you the wrong way under certain circumstances. First you need friction, then heat and moisture. Those 3 things are the perfect climate for a blister on your hands or on your feet.
That's a good one right there.
Once you've got it, there may be a tendency to pop it. Here's our first blister rule. Don't break the skin if the blister is smaller than the tip of your little finger.
Because that skin that's on top of the blister acts as a biologic dressing and makes it much more comfortable.
If the blister is large and swollen, sterilize a needle with rubbing alcohol and drain it. Then cover with a Band-Aid.
If there's any question, then you should consider having it done by a physician.
Blisters are avoidable. Powder on feet and hands reduces moisture, which reduces friction. Well-fitted gloves are essential. So are well-fitted shoes and socks.
A lot of times blisters are caused by improperly fitting shoes, where the shoe is either too loose or too tight in an area where there is normally going to be some movement.
Avoid tube socks. They are blister promoters. Cyclists often develop blisters on their backsides. Padded shorts and seats are recommended. If you've done all the things we've talked about and still get blisters, here's a tip from the professionals. Get some self-sticking gauze and put this on the areas at risk. That way, the gauze takes the friction and not your skin. For Baylor University Medical Center at Dallas, I'm Dr. David Winter.
Well, just ahead on News 8 Midday, is a popular husband-wife acting team about to part ways? We'll tell you next in Getting Personal.
Plus, Andre Agassi puts on a grand slam for children without even stepping onto the tennis court.
And actor Tom Arnold makes a big pitch for some special friends.
Stay with us. Midday continues after this.
If you're scrubbing mildew, you're not using Tilex Instant Mildew Remover.
Telecommunications today in Texas. A brave new frontier. Progressive new laws. More competition. More choices. Hundreds of millions invested in new technology for our schools. Toll-free access to the internet for schools. Distance learning. Teleconferencing. Telemedicine. Superior network quality. Decades of experience. And who's bringing the technology of tomorrow to Texas today? Southwestern Bell. It's that simple.
That new cranberry jello is cooling, like a clear, brisk fall day. It's refreshing, like when my sister-in-law said this year we should have Thanksgiving at her house. You can kind of roll it around on your tongue, like a cranberry. Now, zingy is not a word I take lightly, but this might actually be singing.
New cranberry jello and the new cranberry blends. Naturally fat-free. Jello, it's still the coolest.
Crunchy.
Chewy.
Beefy. Ike, you almost slept through dinner.
No way. Purina brand Kibbles and Chunks dog food is the taste I never get tired of, even in my dreams.
It's time now for Getting Personal. One of TV viewers' favorite actors wonders why he's not as popular with his peers. And a big-name tennis star rounds up his buddies to raise money for children's charities.
But first, to quote the Bard, the course of true love never did run smooth. Britain's golden couple, the Laurence Olivier and Vivian Leigh of their time, have split. Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson are separating after 6 years of marriage because of career pressures. Reporters say Thompson looked exhausted and drawn when she met with him outside her London home. Branagh, who's best known for his Shakespearean work, has moved out of the house, and Thompson has been linked with actor Greg Wise.
Onto the small screen now. Home Improvement's Tim Allen isn't laughing about being passed over for an Emmy nomination this year. Allen contends the TV establishment is prejudiced against him. He's quoted as saying, "Think of a list of best television actors in a TV sitcom and tell me if it doesn't seem odd I'm not in that group." He goes on to say, quote, "Did they forget about me? I'm too popular, perhaps. Too many movies, too many books, too much happening. I don't know what it is."
Neither do we.
Right.
Brad Pitt's new movie is called Seven, but box offices nationwide are calling it #1 for the second straight weekend. The murder suspense pairing Pitt and veteran actor Morgan Freeman held on to the top honors over the weekend. It brought in an estimated $12.4 million in ticket sales. That's about $2 million less than what it brought in over its premiere weekend 2 weeks ago.
Tennis pro Andre Agassi knows how to put on a good show, even off the tennis court. Over the weekend, Agassi hosted a Grand Slam for Children benefit concert in Las Vegas. More than 11,000 fans came to see such celebrities as Elton John, Robin Williams, Michael Bolton, and Kenny G. And about 1,000 people paid up to $25,000 per table for a pre-show banquet and auction. Among the items up for bid, a piano bench autographed by Elton John and a dinner cooked by celebrity chef Wolfgang Puck. In all, the concert and auction raised more than $1 million for 5 children's charities.
He goes for the big laughs in the movies, but yesterday Tom Arnold just wanted to make a few kids smile. Arnold and his new wife, Julie, took 20 children to a San Diego Padres game. The kids are from the San Diego Center for Children. The center is a place for kids who need special treatment. Arnold visits the kids 2 or 3 times a year.
I was a hyperactive kid myself and a little different, and but a lot of these kids are hyperactive, you know, as well, and but they're great. You know, they just want to. You know, they want to be out and about and having fun, just like all, you know, all kids do.
He's helping the treatment. He does stuff for the treatment, and he really cares about it.
Arnold flew in from Canada, where he's filming a new movie.
Former Tonight Show bandleader Branford Marsalis last week reportedly told an Indianapolis newspaper that he despised the show's host, Jay Leno. Marsalis said last week it wasn't his style to kiss up to the host. Well, now there's a question of whether Marsalis meant what he said. A statement was released on Marsalis' behalf the day after his comments were reported. It says he was speaking in jest and that the reporter took his comments out of context. The reporter is sticking by his story, saying he has the interview on tape.
This year's Farm Aid concert brought in more than $1 million to benefit small, struggling family farmers. Yesterday, 50,000 people crammed into Cardinal Stadium in Louisville, Kentucky to attend the benefit. Concert goers enjoyed the diverse roster of performers ranging from Farm Aid President Willie Nelson to Hootie and the Blowfish. Of course, the concert had its share of incidents. Police arrested more than 90 people on drug offenses and threw out another 200 for drunken or disorderly conduct. Despite that, the singer David Matthews said it seemed like a lovely crowd.
Picture a lovely crowd. How lovely. Pictures of model Anna Nicole Smith may bring in the cash, but apparently those of Nikki Hart won't. As a high school student in Mahia, Texas, now famous Anna Nicole was known as Nikki. But when a high school yearbook with her picture in it went on the auction block over the weekend, Auctioneers couldn't even get the minimum $200 bid. Smith is known for her Guess jeans ads and her marriage to the late oil tycoon J. Howard Marshall.
Well, talk about style. What better way to drive than down your own street? Country singer George Jones was honored last night when part of a Beaumont street was named in his honor. Jones was joined by members of his family at the ceremony, and later he performed with his former wife, Tammy Wynette. And that's getting personal and somewhat musical for a Monday.
Well, the State Fair of Texas is in high gear after its opening weekend. The rides are up and running, and the animals are in place. And the food, well, if you've been out there, you know the choices are endless. Channel 8's John Pronk joins us now live with the details. John?
Hey, Renee. Yeah, we're out here at the fair. Everybody has their favorite ethnic food entree, but for some lucky judges at the State Fair of Texas, well, today, it's the world on a fork. Risa and Ira Goldstein live under one roof, share one kitchen. But as of this day...
Both compete. We're both. We're against each other. Married.
In the same event.
Yeah.
I made Hiroshis.
I made noodle kugel.
And we'll see who wins.
They were among 50 cooks who entered over 100 appetizers, entrees, or desserts in the Ethnic Foods Contest at the Creative Arts Building. As varied as the world's cuisine can be, makes judging difficult.
That's one of the reasons we have our 26 categories, so that we can attempt, at least in the semifinals, to have things judged things judged against each other. In the best of show, it becomes very, very difficult because we're judging 26 first-place winners to determine what the very best is of everything that was brought in today.
Winners in each category advance to the final round of deciding best of show. That includes a ribbon and $50 cash. So are you going to split the prize money if there is any?
No. No way. It's mine.
Everything I make is hers.
Very much so. But
I like that. There were 127 total entries, most in Tex-Mex, and they'll announce the winners here in about a half hour or so. You know, for names, I got to go with Risa Goldstein's Noodle Kugel. I mean, you got to give it a ribbon just for nomenclature, don't you? Back to y'all.
Yeah. Don't come home empty-handed, John Pronk.
Yeah, really.
Bring us some of that food.
Bring it on.
The noodle kugel, okay. Okay, you really bridge the gap between the living and the dead? You decide. When you watch Oprah today, you'll meet a psychic who's worked with celebrities and CEOs claiming to have talked with the dead. That's today on Oprah at 4 o'clock here on Channel 8.
The countdown began today for another space shuttle mission, but will Opal interfere? Details are coming up.
And a divorce causes a test of faith at one of the nation's most prominent congregations. Stay with us. Midday continues.
This is Owen's Special Seasoning Sausage.
The Owens family's really proud of our new Owens Special Seasoning Sausage.
These are the special seasonings.
And rightfully so, because it's made with a special new blend of herbs and spices.
This is sage.
With just a pinch of sage. What you doing, Maggie?
I'm teaching the grandkids what makes our sausage so good.
All right.
Look, Kyle, what makes Owen's Special Seasoning Sausage so good? Grandpa.
New Owens Special Seasoning Sausage.
The Freedom of Information Foundation of Texas believes that the First Amendment is the cornerstone of the Bill of Rights and essential to our democratic society and freedom of expression. The foundation has a new program for teachers called Education for Freedom in Texas. The program's curriculum shows students how the First Amendment guarantees everyday freedoms that they enjoy. If you're a teacher in the North Texas area or the parent of school-age children, call for more information about the Education for Freedom in Texas program in the spirit of Texas.
I'm going to show you that new Cottonelle with baking soda isn't just another soft toilet paper. It'll leave your family not just clean, but actually fresher. Try this. Take an onion, Cottonelle, and your toilet paper. Cottonelle on this side, and the other paper.
Ooh!
Try this one.
Hey, how'd you do that?
You've never tried toilet paper like this before.
For a fresher kind of clean, new Cottonelle with baking soda. Advanced personal hygiene from Cottonelle.
Despite widespread protests, France detonated its second blast in a series of nuclear tests in the South Pacific. The French Defense Ministry says today's explosion was more than 5 times stronger than the first less than a month ago. Greenpeace is strongly protesting the nuclear test, calling the blast an enormous affront to the people of the South Pacific. several demonstrators scaled the walls of a government building in London this morning. Clad in black, they held anti-nuclear banners atop the building.
As we told you at the top of this newscast, the U.S. Supreme Court got off to a quick start as it opened its new term this morning. Among the rulings, the High Court handed General Motors a defeat. The case involved a class action lawsuit against the automaker over the side-mounted gas tanks of its pickup trucks. Under the settlement, the company agreed to distribute coupons to truck owners worth $1,000 toward the purchase of a new GM truck. But an appellate court ruled that that settlement was unfair and inadequate. GM had asked the Supreme Court to throw out the ruling, and today the court denied the automaker's request.
4 children remain hospitalized in critical condition after a car-train wreck yesterday. The accident happened near Gilmer in East Texas. 3 other children, ages 9, 7, and 9 months, were killed in the accident. Department of Public Safety officers investigating the accident say the driver of the car apparently became distracted as she came to the railroad crossing and drove in front of the train. The children were not wearing seat belts and were thrown from the car.
One of the country's best-known pastors and TV evangelists could lose his job for personal reasons. Dr. Charles Stanley has been with the First Baptist Church in Atlanta for years. But that may change now because of his wife, of 40 years, has filed for divorce. Many church members say Stanley's marital situation shouldn't affect his job.
Are we supposed to be one in Christ once we're united in marriage? But if one goes astray or wants something different, then the other one should not be held responsible.
2 passages of Scripture that I believe in is one that I shouldn't touch God's anointed, and I believe that Dr. Stanley is one of God's anointed, and secondly, I'm the judge of no man.
Some church members who didn't talk on camera say Stanley is, quote, biblically unqualified to preach in light of the impending divorce. The church is still deciding whether to keep Dr. Stanley.
Coming up next, we'll take a look at concerns expressed at our latest Family First meeting. The topic was education and how parents can get more involved.
And the stock market opens as usual, but the attire was not the usual coat and tie. Details coming up, but first we'll take a look at the markets this midday, and we'll be back.
She says she hears voices, has visions. She claims that she can walk into a room full of strangers and in minutes deliver personal messages from your loved ones who are dead.
I'm aware of a lady who died of cancer.
Oh, yes, it was my mother.
She keeps tapping you on the shoulder.
Can she bridge the gap between the living and the dead?
I believe that what she's dealing with is demons.
You decide. Next Oprah.
Today at 4, here on Channel 8.
Hot Springs, I just can't wait to see you.
I want to feel your bubbling waters,
Frolic in the sun.
We'll take a stroll through history, relax and have some fun.
Your good times are calling me, I just can't stay away.
Come on, Hot Springs, make my day.
For your free Hot Springs National Park Fall Festivals planner, call 1-800-SPA-CITY now.
Hot Springs, I just can't wait to see you.
Over the years, the Carter Eye Center has pioneered the care and treatment for cataract patients in the Metroplex. We were the first to provide our cataract patients with free limousine service. Next, we introduced the one-stitch cataract procedure, followed by the no-stitch cataract procedure. Now, we are proud to offer eye drop anesthesia. That means no more shots. Call me now for a free cataract screening.
No, sir. I don't need none of that highfalutin computerized stuff. I'm going to fix this car the way my daddy would have done it. And his daddy would have done it.
Well, no. Of course the paint won't match exactly, but you do get a free keychain.
Forget what you heard before and come to Estate Car Care. Paint and body, transmission and engine overhauls or minor repairs, routine maintenance. 42 high-tech bays staffed by certified technicians. The quality service you deserve. Estate Car Care for all your auto needs under one roof.
President Clinton got some key support when it comes to raising the nation's minimum wage. Today, more than 100 economists, including 3 Nobel Prize winners, said the benefits of a higher minimum wage outweigh any negative effects. Clinton has proposed raising the wage from $4.25 an hour to $5.15 an hour over 2 years. Republicans contend that the higher wage would price many lower-income workers out of jobs.
Wall Street was feeling a little bit country this morning.
Opry, let her go, boys.
That is country music singer Porter Wagoner with the honor of ringing in the start of trading this morning, while country music blared from the loudspeakers. Even the president of the stock exchange, as you see there, was dressed for the occasion, and that occasion was the 70th anniversary of the Grand Ole Opry. Well, a computer mogul leads the list of Forbes 400 richest Americans. Forbes says Microsoft's Bill Gates is worth $14.8 billion. Gates calls the list silly. Investor Warren Buffett, with big holdings in ABC Cap Cities, came in at number 2. Dallas's Ross Perot topped the list of 29 Texans on the list. His $2.6 billion makes him 33rd overall. And for the first time ever, Oprah Winfrey made the list, sneaking in at number 399. She's the only entertainer to make the list.
The image of public schools and the positive aspects of a public education, we heard all about it Thursday night in a Project 8 Family First Town meeting hosted by Doug Fox and me. And we heard about some specifics on how adults can truly become involved at neighborhood schools.
By involving the children after school, the evening, the weekends, that we draw the parents.
I would like to encourage schools to start educational programs that would involve parents and children coming to the school to take courses together.
Part of it is setting an example for your children. The way for them to learn to become involved in the community is to do it yourself.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do something every week or every day.
We also have a group called the Dad's Club. When projects can't get done, the principal says, well, that's the Dad's Club project. And they somehow get in touch with us and somehow it gets done.
In their school cafeteria, bring 2 televisions down and have all the fathers and their sons come up to the school and watch Monday Night Football.
One of the things to remember is that when you get people to step forward and volunteer, is to be sure you stay in contact with them. Try to have a structure organized so that someone calls them back. Otherwise, they're just going to disappear.
If you don't give me a call, I will sure call you and say, okay, I volunteer. And they take a proactive approach, okay?
It's hard work.
Yeah, it is
really having parents active and adults active in your building is hard work. I think the principals would attest to that. You must be very organized, and you got to do a lot of planning.
There are other avenues to get involved. The schools, many times, are going to be able to call you at home. But besides the PTA, there is the school center education in 204 schools in the Dallas Public Schools, which that means that you just find out when they meet once a month. Go over there for an hour, and you have a voice. You can say anything you want.
As a member of the SBE Council and as a parent to 3 students and 1 nephew here at Gooch, I like to say that it is important that parents do get involved. And one of the reasons why I am involved with Gooch is because I love my children.
Tiffany, how do you like going to school here?
Fine.
Well, what kinds of things does your mom do to help you learn here?
She makes sure I read every day, and she takes out my wrong, she signs my folder.
She does.
I believe in public schools. I'm going to go visit this school, and I'm going to get to know as much as I can about it. And I respect people's right to choose to go to private, but you lose my respect if you make that choice without visiting your neighborhood school.
The reason there is so much involvement in public schools is that people make a deliberate choice to send their children to public schools. And a lot of people don't make a choice to send their children to private schools. It's just a thing that you're supposed to do.
There are many wonderful schools, public schools within not only Dallas ISD, but across Texas.
Especially the Dallas ISD, the DPS, what it is now. I'm not used to that yet. Has a good reputation as far as teaching goes, and I'm glad my kids are in it.
I'd like to thank you all for coming and doing a positive story about the public schools. We appreciate that.
The audience put together an action plan that included getting more dads involved.
And a good audience. It sounded like some good solutions.
Lots of solutions. More solutions than I think problems, actually.
Sounds good.
Sounded great. Coming up, we'll track some potentially severe thunderstorms in North Texas. Pablo Pereira will join us with the latest.
Plus, painting your home is always a good way to update its look. How to avoid a mess in the process. Just ahead. Stay with us.
Call this number now, and you can get this $300 cellular phone free. And $50 worth of cellular accessories free.
Plus, call now, and MetroCell will waive their activation fee. Call now or stop by today.
The cellular experts at Telephone Warehouse are waiting.
So, what number are you calling?
Telephone Warehouse is the answer.
When you have a Blockbuster Visa card from Nations Bank, an ordinary trip to the mailbox can be quite entertaining. That's because every month you can earn Blockbuster bucks you spend like cash for free entertainment. Like videos, music, and more. And you can use it anywhere Visa is accepted. It's almost enough to make you look forward to getting your credit card bill. To apply for your Blockbuster Visa, call 1-800-483-4499 today.
I'm walking, yes indeed, I'm walking.
Now you can walk away from static.
Oh yeah, I'm walking.
Static shows on the outside, but can happen on the inside. That's why there's new Ultra Bounce. Better on static, easier to use. Ultra Bounce penetrates fabric to control static inside and out.
That's what I say, I'm walking. Yes indeed, I'm walking.
New Ultra Bounce controls static better inside and out, so you can walk away from static.
I'm walking.
Still using Western Union? Well, switch to MoneyGram now and save up to $19. Unless you don't mind getting... Now wire $300 for just $10 with MoneyGram. Now that MoneyGram charges up to $19 less than Western Union, why wouldn't you switch? Well, maybe you enjoy getting ripped off. MoneyGram, the better way to wire money.
NASA restarted its countdown clock today for the Space Shuttle Columbia. The agency hopes for a Thursday morning launch. Last week's launch was canceled due to a leaking fuel valve. This week's plans may be derailed as well, this time by weather. The forecasters say there's only a 30% chance for good launch weather due to Hurricane Opal moving through the Gulf of Mexico, and that's going to keep meteorologists busy, including Pablo.
Yeah, Pablo's keeping an eye on it. And welcome again to Texas.
Yeah,
Actually,
thanks.
you're originally from Texas,
Well,
right?
that's right, and we've now had all the weather in about one day that I can
do you
handle.
like it?
Oh, it's typical, isn't it?
Exactly.
And we've got a severe thunderstorm watch out there right now until 6 o'clock for most of north central Texas and parts of southern Oklahoma as well. Let's put up the radar picture here and take a look. And as you can see, that severe thunderstorm watch through much of central Texas, including the Dallas-Fort Worth area, into parts of Oklahoma and eastern Arkansas as well. We follow this severe thunderstorm system as it pushes its way into parts of Young and Wise County right now, and in behind it, a whole large area of lighter shower activity, but along this first line of showers, some very heavy thunderstorms, lightning, and the potential for hail as well. All right, let's check our current conditions under some cloudy skies right now. Showers should develop any time. Our expected high today is 81 degrees, a low of 58. Right now outside, though, it's about, well, 84 degrees is the current temperature, as it says there. Check the national picture this afternoon as we watch those thunderstorms develop in parts of the Texas Panhandle this morning here along this upper-level low-pressure system here. In behind it, a cool front, and in behind that cool front, some much cooler temperatures as well. The system is moving to the south-southeast at about 20 to 25 miles an hour, and as it pushes through, the chance of rain will increase in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Temperatures around the nation this afternoon showing some 80s along the Gulf Coast, 70s, 60s, and some 40-degree readings still up in the far northern parts of the United States. Way down here is Tropical Storm, which is now Hurricane Opal. Winds at 80 miles an hour, not much movement right now, although some flash flood watches have been posted along the Gulf Coast. All right, as we pull in a little bit closer, you can see that thunderstorm activity with that cold front. As we mentioned, the winds will be out of the northeast a little bit later on this afternoon. Here's the 5-day forecast. Showers and thunderstorms expected this afternoon into early evening. A high temperature expected of 81 degrees. Tonight, cloudy skies with 58. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, look for some variable cloudiness. Temperatures dropping quite a bit in the mid-70s, lows overnight in the 50s. And by Friday, if Opal decides to go anywhere but the Gulf, we should see some sunshine, although the chances are that Opal will start to make a northeasterly turn and have some impact on our weather a little bit later on in the week.
We'll see what happens then.
We certainly will.
Thanks a lot, Pablo. Well, if you'll be painting some part of your home this year, you can never have too many tips to keeping the mess to a minimum.
Al Carroll has some easy but worthwhile advice for you do-it-yourselfers.
You know, painting is among the messiest do-it-yourself projects you can get involved with, but it doesn't have to be. I'm going to show you a couple of tricks that's going to make painting a lot less messy. First of all, I like being able to stir mechanically. It's not much fun to do otherwise. But I want you to know that before you turn the drill on, you want to get the stirrer part right on down in there. And then, by taking a paper plate that's punched in the middle and putting it over like that, you'll never splatter anything out except what gets on the paper plate. Normally, when you go into the paint store, you can get one of these stirrers if you want to do it by hand. But if you don't have one, just take a wire coat hanger and just bend it up like so, bring it back like that, and now you have a really great paint stirrer that'll do a wonderful job. Even if you do a neat job of stirring, though, you're going to get paint drooling off down the side here. And so what I'd like to do is to take the paper plate, put some tape on there, and now you have a drip catcher. Another thing that I want you to remember, and that is that the rim around a paint can is going to collect a lot of paint. And when you get ready to put the lid back on, it's going to squish out all over your floor. It won't do it if when you first open the can up, you'll take a nail and